No worries, no worries. Good morning, good evening, depending upon what part of the world you're in. If it's Friday, it is the CEO series where we bring together the most phenomenal people who will walk us through their career journey. Our guest today is Donna Wilson, transformational leader, president of Strategic Intersections. With extensive experience in Fortune 500 companies, she specializes in DEI, multicultural marketing, organizational transformation. She's a recognized global innovator, negotiator, and thought leader. She is widely celebrated for her impact, earning accolades from the Economic Justice Awards, David Rockefeller Fellow Awards, and recognition among Crane's top 100 minority executives, and the Network's Journal 25 influential Black women in business. And with that, I say, Donna, welcome. How are you?
I'm fine. Hi, Turan. How are you? It's so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad we were able to get the setup here and have you here. One of the goals of the show was to bring our global audience in to talk about careers, because when people are coming out of university, they have this vision of how all of this thing is going to work, and it never works that way. And so we'll start. We always like to start with asking you to share the journey from community development to corporate leadership and all of these awards you've won, recognized, globally recognized. So walk us through that.
So sure. So I started my career 39 years ago. And so I spent my first 23 years in traditional financial services. And what I was most interested as I began to grow through the ranks is I was very interested in lending, but I was interested in economic development lending. And
Okay.
economic development lending is lending to the most disenfranchised communities across the globe. And so I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed going into communities that were diverse, that had people that looked like myself, that had opportunities to build housing, to build infrastructure, to build small businesses. I absolutely loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. But then after about 23, 24 years, you start thinking, what else do I want to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was very interested in diversity. And the reason why I was interested in diversity is because of the changing demographics.
Yeah.
And I really thought that the way organizations were looking at diversity, they were looking at it from a talent perspective. And I really wanted to, as a business person by training, I really wanted to look at it from a business opportunity. And so I wanted to work for organizations that I could help them build strategies. I live in the innovation space. I like white space. I like white paper. So I really wanted to begin to do that. So I began to transition.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I smile because you see, you like white paper. I love reading white papers. When I travel, I've got a whole little list of things. I'm travel, I'm marking it up. And sometimes the attendant said, "Are you going to rest, or are you just going to read?" I said, "I enjoy doing this." So totally understand that. So, what was a pivotal moment? You said you was thinking about it, and we all go through these periods. You've been doing it a while, and said, is there something else? Was it something that triggered that, or?
Yes, I'm sorry, Ron.
No, just walk us through that, because what was the pivotal moment? I'm going to take a left turn.
Yeah, I didn't think I was growing anymore.
Okay.
I didn't think that. I thought that, you wake up and you kind of know the answers before the questions.
Yeah.
And so it was, yes, I had done the lending. Yes, I had done the product development. Yes, I had done a lot of different multicultural. I had done a lot of different things to get inner city communities thriving. But I did not feel that I was growing. And
Okay.
I wanted to grow in some different industries and grow in different products. And I just wanted to do something different. But I
Mm,
wanted to be in the innovation space. And I
yeah.
didn't think I was being in an innovation space anymore because we had done it. I had been there, done that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I had really begun to peak the innovation from the standpoint of economic development lending. And so I wanted to
Yeah.
do something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel that you weren't being challenged? I mean, you were kind of going through the motions, and one of the things that made me think of that, you said, I already knew the answers, and it was just kind of going through it. I knew what the deal was, and going through all of this kind of thing. And was that kind of the pivotal space? And the
Yes.
reason the reason I ask that is because so many younger people, or people mid careers, beginning careers, they're just going through the motions the same way that you were.
Yes.
So what did they look out for? The trigger or something along those lines.
So me, I like to jump out of bed. I like to
Okay.
be excited about the work that I'm doing. And
Okay.
while I was passionate about the work, I love mission-driven work. I didn't. So now what? So now
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
And the community is built. The infrastructure is there. The deposits and that are coming in from the customers are there. The products exist. Now what?
Mm,
And so I just thought that I wasn't excited about it anymore. I
mm,
enjoyed it. It's mission driven work, but I wasn't excited to get up in
yeah.
the morning anymore about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I really thought that I really needed to find something else that I wanted to do.
Mm. Do you think that making that pivotal decision like that, was that because of maybe the way that you were brought up, or there were mentors in your life that said always challenge yourself, or where did that come from?
Well, first of all, I've always, Ron, been hungry.
Okay.
I've always been a planner. I've always planned, what I wanted to do in college. What did I wanted to do? What did I want to do, when I started working? I was always looking for that next thing.
Okay.
I was never someone that stopped and smelled the roses. I
Okay.
always wanted to know what's that next thing? What's my compensation going to look like next year? What's it going to look like the following year? So I was always interested and motivated to
Mm,
see what's coming next. So,
mm.
and I will tell you, to your point of,
Oh, it's slipping.
I don't like surprises of any sort. And so as a child, I would always run through the house during the Christmas holidays, and I would look, and my parents would have the gifts hidden. And I would always find the bags, and I would open up the bags, and I would look at all of the gifts,
Ahead
especially
of time?
ahead of time, because I don't like surprises. I don't like
Yeah.
surprises. And so I wanted to know what the gifts were, and I wrapped them,
Back.
gently back. And, when my parents put them under the tree, I knew every single gift. And I will tell you that to this day, I don't like surprises. I don't
Okay.
like surprises. And it's crazy to my family, because my husband has never purchased a Christmas gift to me that I didn't know about. He tried early on, but it didn't work. And
Is it?
so I just don't like surprises. And so I always want to, I know that life happens and you can't plan
Mm,
everything,
mm,
but what I can plan, Ron, I want to
mm.
plan because I don't like surprises.
Okay. So when that bug came to you and you said, you know what, I'm just going through the motions, let me flip it over and do something else. Doing that transition, what was the biggest challenge? From getting out of the safe space, and I'm going to try this on my own.
Yes. So what was the biggest challenge was that when you're good at something and you've done something for a couple of decades now, and
Okay.
people trust you, they trust that it's on your watch, it's on Donna's watch, excuse me, and we don't have to worry about it. And that's what
Hmm.
people would say. I don't, as long as Donna's involved, or long as
Okay.
Donna's
Okay.
managing it, I don't have to worry about it. But then when I decided I don't want to do this anymore, and then trying to convince people that I want to pivot in another direction, that was probably my greatest challenge, because
Ah,
people see you in the box,
Yeah.
They like
And
you
now
in the box, and they want you to stay in the
in the
box.
box. Yeah.
And so for me, I don't, I create my own box,
Mm.
and I wanted to get out of the box. And so that was probably my greatest challenge, was talking to mentors and sponsors about wanting to get out of the box, and they saying, Donna, go on vacation, think about it, you need
Yeah.
some time off,
Just
just
just cool
rest,
down.
just cool down, cool out. And
Yeah.
I would say, I just got back from vacation, I don't want to cool out, I want
Yeah.
to make a move.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of a branding thing, because the brand was this. She will, and then you are saying, I'm going to recreate the brand in another space.
Yes.
That's a huge challenge. But again, if you've got a body of work and people are believing in you, as you said, it was somewhat of an easy, I'm going to say somewhat of an easy transition in listening to the story, but I'm sure there were challenges. What was the major challenge you had when you made that turn, and now you're out of that safe space, and now you've got to create it? What was?
So I won't say it's a challenge. And anytime you pivot, you need to make sure that you're fully up to speed about what you don't know in that particular industry.
Okay.
So I won't call it a challenge, but I did need to ramp up my knowledge.
Okay.
And I needed to dedicate the necessary time and resources to understanding what I didn't know in this
Mm,
new industry. And
yeah.
so that's what I began to do, because I needed to educate myself. Just because I was very good at one particular industry, yes, I have transferable skills. Yes, I can learn it. Absolutely. Will I be successful? Absolutely. But I
Hmm.
do need to respect that this is a different industry, and I need to ramp up and learn it. And then
Yeah.
through ramping up and learning it, Ron, what I was able to do is to find opportunities in
Okay.
gaps in which I could create my innovation and tease
Yeah.
that out and build from.
Okay. Okay. That's pretty cool. So, I can remember to this day the day that I decided to quit my job, because I was just going through the motions, and I was sitting in my backyard. I just finished reading the New York Times when it was this thick, and I said, I can't do this anymore. And I went inside in my office, and I went and penned a letter to resign, and didn't have a job. And that's what started this whole thing now. And that's a whole other story. But I'm saying, you have those moments, and you were able to do that. How would you, if you were talking to an audience of younger people coming out of university, what advice would you give them? Because they're starry-eyed. It's going to work like this. It's going to go like this, and then stuff happens.
Yeah, I talk to university students all the time,
Yeah.
because I believe fundamentally they're our future.
Yeah.
And so I talk to them about believing in themselves. I
Hmm.
talk to them about their commitment to whatever that industry is. I talk about being the first one there, being the last one to leave. I talk about how important it is for them to perfect their craft of knowledge, to always
Hmm.
be in the spirit of learning, never
Hmm.
feel like you always have it all figured out, because you never will.
Yeah.
And but to always make sure that they keep as many naysayers out of their life as possible,
Yeah.
and to make sure that that they keep people, to keep their light burning, that they keep people that are in their life that are supportive of them, people that
Mm.
have their back, people that sponsor them, colleagues, peers, friends, family, people that are going to support you in your journey. And if
Hmm.
they don't, remove them from your life.
Yeah. I
And
call them power.
yeah, I also share that when I'm speaking to an audience of men and women, but in particularly women, that you can't have it. You can have it all,
Yeah.
but you can't have it all at the same time.
Same time.
And I
Pieces.
outsourced a lot, Ron. I
I know.
outsourced a lot. My kids' birthdays weren't on their actual birthdays. They were
Yeah.
celebrated a week early. It's
Yeah.
and I outsourced, Ron, without guilt.
Yeah. Mm.
Let go of the guilt.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to recognize some quotes, some people that are responding here. John Self, who's frequent listener out of Texas. He said it's chilly there. He said it's not what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so.
Mhm.
Anonymous. That was a quote that he talked about. And then
Mhm.
Daniel said that, wow, what an inside box from the ones who are outside of the box.
Mhm.
He said, do you think university is a source of ultimate creativity or the source of casting someone else's thought? Interesting question.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny when I'm speaking to university. Thank you for that question. When I'm speaking at universities, here's the thing that I always talk about. Let's not have groupthink. And in universities, they want groupthink. And
Yeah.
when you leave that atmosphere, you don't want groupthink. You want
Hmm.
people that are able to think independent. You want
Yeah.
people that are able to think of creative ways of solving
Hmm.
problems. It's not necessarily this groupthink. We don't need groupthink.
Hmm.
What we
Hmm.
need
Hmm.
is for people to be courageous enough to think outside of the box
Okay.
and figure out how we need to solve big problems and be
Mm.
confident enough, many times standing all by themselves in the room
Yeah.
by themselves. And
Yeah.
so we don't need followers. I talk about this all the time. We have enough followers, Ron. We
Yeah.
need leaders that
Mm.
are comfortable leading and standing by themselves.
Yeah. That's the comfort zone. Yeah. Yeah. So we have a LinkedIn user. I don't know who it is. It says two of my favorite leaders. I know he's talking about you. I don't know who the other one is. To have watched the work during my career, Donna Wilson inspired to grab hold of your book. So talk to us. Apparently, he knows about your book. Talk to us about your book.
So yes, thank you. Thank you to the LinkedIn caller. So my book is a book that I started thinking about over 39 years ago, because that's
Okay.
how long I was in corporate America. And I
In,
started thinking about this book. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ron.
no, I said in process. You said 39 years. I've been working on it.
Yes, I've been working on it, and I had a file with notes and points that I wanted to make sure I
Yeah.
put in the book. But I wanted to write the book after I retired because I wanted to be able to have the freedom to write.
Okay.
And so what ended up happening is that I always talked about behind the glass doors and the
Mm,
unwritten rules behind the glass doors. And so my book is called Behind the Glass Doors. It's Donna M. Wilson. There's another Donna Wilson author out there. So my
okay.
initial Donna M. Wilson, and it's called Behind the Glass Doors. And the glass doors represent the
Yeah.
skyscraper of corporate
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
wanted people to understand is that success is not something that you plan. It is something that
Okay.
you have to work at.
Yeah.
And in order to be successful, you must understand what those unwritten rules are.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
was fortunate enough to be exposed to the unwritten rules very, very early in my career by
Mm,
individuals that took me under their wings. And I
yeah.
will be very candid. They were men that took me under their wings and saw that I was a hard worker. I was there before the lights came on. I was there when the lights went off. They knew that I wanted to be very, very successful. And I tried. I was a little engine that could. And they said, you know what? We're going to introduce her to the unwritten rules. And I
Okay.
learned the unwritten rules.
Okay.
And so those things, and that's what the book talks about, because everyone wants to be inside. Everybody wants to be on that corner office inside of that
Yeah.
skyscraper. Many
The
people.
space.
Yeah, everyone wants that corner office. It's a great corner. I love my corner office. But the reality is that you have to understand what the rules are to get there. And
Hmm.
it's not in the HR manual. So you
Yeah.
have to understand what those rules are in
Yeah.
order to be successful. And
Mm,
so in the book, it outlines those 10 rules, and I give you a lot of examples. I each one of the chapters, I'll also talk about a summary of it so that you can utilize it and take it. And I've had people say, I carry it with me, Donna. It's an
ah.
amazing book. It's in bite size. It's less than 200 pages. People read it in an afternoon. And it
Okay.
really talks about those unwritten rules that if you don't know, you don't know, you are not going to be as successful as you'd like to be. So
Okay.
it's just critical. and it's on Amazon, and you can see so many reviews that have come in from so many people. I'm humbled that they've all been 5-star.
Yeah, it's already on my note to do my order because I'm leaving here tonight to come back to New York. Let me just come back to that LinkedIn user. It came up as LinkedIn user. That is my dear friend Adrian Wallace, who is a global
Adrian
leader. Big shout in the marketing space, and we've been knowing each other for years and years and years. So Adrian, you're gonna abuse me out, as my grandmother would say. It comes up as LinkedIn user, but I'm so glad that you're here, as I say, in the house. So thank you for that. And she said, "It's me, Ron. It's not he." That's my Adrian. That's Adrian. I'm going to see you next week. Adrian, we're going to set up some time next week after Thanksgiving to meet in the city and have a bite to eat. So
thank you, Adrian. She's fabulous.
She's absolutely awesome. And we go back to my Martha Stewart days. So that's a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
But she's the marketing space. She's it. So talk about mentoring. You talked about those people who you said, well, they were men. That's cool. Those mentors, the importance of mentorship.
Yes.
In career development. Do we need a mentor? Do we need someone to bounce things off of, or?
So let's talk about mentorship and let's talk about sponsorship. They are two different things. So absolutely, you should have mentors. Mentors are people that you tell the good, the bad, and the ugly to, right?
Okay.
These are people that are going to support you, that you can talk about what's going on with your job. You can get advice. Many times these are people that are managers. And these are people that are coaching and mentoring you. Everyone should have a coach and a mentor. But let's talk about sponsorship now. Sponsorship is a differentiated relationship. Sponsorship is really earned by top performers. And these are individuals that are extremely proficient at their job. And what you find is that senior leaders will see that as well, in that they will want to reach out and say, you know what, just like I was talking about earlier, you know what, I'm going to help you. How can I support you? How can I help open doors? What are your aspirations? Donna, what do you want to do in 3 years? What do you want to do in 5 years? These are the people that can use their intellectual capital on your behalf. That's why sponsors are so critical. And so I've always had sponsors in my life. You need your own board of directors. And your own board of directors are sponsors and mentors and peers. And you want colleagues, and you want leaders, and you want supervisors, you want managers, you want a whole, my board of directors, Ron, is standing room only. I want as many people, relationships with as many people as possible. Why? Because, Ron, when decisions are made on your career, in your promotion, you are not the one sitting in the room. They're the ones sitting in the room making decisions on your career and your promotions. So don't you want to have those relationships with those individuals that are sitting in the room that you're not sitting in? And so that's why it's so critical. You must have mentors, you must have sponsors. But sponsors are these individuals that will use, like I said, their intellectual capital and then their seniority and their position to get you looked at ahead of the pile or to eliminate the pile altogether. That's happened to me several times.
Yeah, I've always had that same concept of board of directors, the people that I could that was my board. When I ran HR departments, I had a board of directors inside of the organization, because if I want to try things, I want to get a sense of what the workers are thinking about, as making a decision by conference room that has no connection to the audience that is going to impact. So I love that concept. So you walk through those three concepts. So what does your leadership style look like? Do you bring that mentorship piece into play?
Absolutely. Mentorship, sponsorship, absolutely. And as a leader, it's our responsibility to move talent. It's our responsibility to advance talent. It's our responsibility to educate, to make sure that they understand the rules for engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And so I take being a leader and being a manager and a supervisor extremely seriously.
Yeah.
And so that's the best job that I could ever have done in my career. And that is to lead a team and manage people.
Okay.
That's the biggest job that I've ever had to do in my career.
Yeah.
Regardless of all of my other successes, my greatest accomplishment is how I've moved talent.
Yeah. So how did you learn that? Was it just through osmosis, or was kind of the way you were brought up in a household? Where did that come from?
So it came from looking at great leaders.
Okay.
You know, over 39 years, you can see I had access to some great leaders, not many, but and I had access to some bad leaders. And so what you decide is the type of leader you want to be.
Yeah.
You get to make that decision. No one else makes that for you. And so I decided that very, very early on in my career, having a couple of women that were very, very strong leaders, compassionate leaders, empathetic leaders, critical thinking outside of the box, not adhering to the status quo. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to emulate those great leaders, and I wanted to honor those great leaders. And the only way I could honor them is to take what I've learned from them and emulate that through my style and managing others.
So if you look back on your career to where you are at this point, and if you had to do it all over again, would there be anything that you would have changed?
No.
Or you were able to pretty much navigate?
No, you know, I get asked that question all the time. Is there anything I would have changed in my career? Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. And let me tell you why. And I don't mean that to sound like an arrogant response.
Yeah.
The reason why I would never change anything is because 39 years ago, when I had really good leaders, and I've had great leaders throughout some good leaders throughout my career, but early in my career, when I had the opportunity to have really great leaders, when it was building the foundation of who Donna was going to be in terms of this work environment, what I found was that I enjoyed living my legacy. And so I have a very strong faith. I'm very spiritual. And I'm one of those people that live not for the birth of my year or the end of my death. I live for the dash in the middle.
Okay.
That's what I live for. I live for the dash. So if I'm living for the dash, then my legacy has to be steeped in integrity and honor and passion and commitment. And so every day of my career and in my life, then people that know you can attest to this, I live for the dash. And so I don't have regrets if I'm living that way.
You know what? I'm laughing because I remember reading that quote, not in the context of that, but about going to a graveyard and you see born death. That said, the learning points was the dash.
Yes.
The learning point was the dash. Some took advantage of it. Some did not.
Right. But I took it very seriously decades ago when I saw that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to live for the dash. Okay. And as a leader, as I mentioned earlier, I'm comfortable standing by myself. I have a number of examples where I stood on the side of right. And people don't have to stand with me, and that's okay. But I'm going to stand on the side of right. And so, no, I have no regrets.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a thought, and this is your next book title, Living for the Dash.
Living for the dash.
You don't have to attribute it to me.
I like that.
So I'm like, what? Living for the dash.
Living for the dash.
And when I heard that person say that, I said, you know, you're absolutely right, because all you see is those tombstones on each end. But how was it a life fulfilled?
Right.
That you went out and made an impact inside of, you know, whatever area that you were dealing with. Yeah.
Right. My life is not my birth. Okay. My life is not my death.
Okay.
My life is my dash. that's what and I'm not trying to sound morbid, but when people stand over me for when I take my last breath,
Yeah.
people aren't going to say she was a great executive. Yes, I'll probably have people there that will say she was really great. I want people to stand over me and say she was a great mother. She was a great friend. She was a great, this, that, or that, whatever. I want people to say those things. That's what you want people to say.
Yeah.
We're going
Yeah.
to miss her. She had
Yeah.
such honor. She stood for the right things. If I can get that, I'm good.
Yeah. You're good. You're good. My mother's favorites. She said, every day you go out into the world, you make deposits, and you consistently make deposits. When you
Exactly.
need a withdrawal, it's always there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I've always kind of lived my life like that. I've always wanted to just help people. People will reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will always respond. A lot of people say, "Oh, I just delete all that stuff." Why?
Never.
But that's just me.
Never.
So I want to ask you this. How do you stay ahead of the curve? You talked about you consistently learn, and how do you learn? How do you visionary? What's coming up next? How do you look into your crystal ball? What does that look like? Your learning process.
So I'm constantly listening. I'm constantly listening. And so I'm attending conferences, I'm attending seminars, webinars. I'm constantly hungry to know what I don't know. So when I say that, I'm always in this mode of learning, but at the same time, I'm reading books, I'm looking at researches, I'm always online. But here's the most important point of all of that, I would say, that I want people to hear. And that is, listen to understand, not to respond.
Not for pause.
Right. Listen to understand. How many times have we had conversations with people and they have either not remembered my question or they said something that had nothing to do with my question? So let's listen to understand and not listen to respond. I believe that that's the greatest form of learning and communication.
Okay, so when I gave you your next book title, Daniel said, "Wow, living for the dash."
Living for the dash. Thank you, Daniel.
I knew I wasn't the only one. I want to do a quick shout out too for a gentleman who was a guest on the show, and he's always the first one to log in. Peter Piccinini. Peter's career. He was on stage. He was on Broadway. He was doing all these things, stage man, all this kind of stuff. And now he's managing wealth. He's a wealth advisor. And these are the kind of people we like to have on. And you go through all of these transformations and you end up doing something that's totally different from what you may have come out of university, starry-eyed, and say, this is where I'm going to keep going. What role did family play in if I can go there?
Yeah.
Because you talked about your father and and we hope he's doing well.
Yes.
What does the family board look like? Was that there or?
Yes. So my parents, I have an older brother and an older sister. And so it was the three of us. And the family dynamics was my father was a Marine. He was with the United States Marine Corps. Talk about honor and integrity. And my mother, she worked for the Social Security Administration. She passed in 2018. And so what my parents taught me was that I can do anything I put my mind to.
Okay.
I just have to decide what it is.
Yeah.
Yes. I can do anything, in that I was just as good as anybody else.
Yeah.
And not to allow anyone to tell me that I wasn't good as. And then I will say a comment that my mom would always tell me, and she would say, when I was a little girl, she would say, "You're a pretty little girl, but that in 10 cents will get you a cup of coffee. So stay focused on
Yeah.
what's really important.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
she always kept it very real. And so I
Yeah.
never looked too much about that. But
Yeah.
it was a point that she wanted me to understand. Don't get lost in that, because
Mhm.
it's that in 10 cents, and that'll get you a cup of coffee if you're
Yeah.
lucky.
The other phrase was that and the token would get you on the subway.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
So
right.
that was kind of the key. So I'm kind of the same way, because I'm always thinking about quotes that my mother said, quotes that my father said. Neither one of my parents finished college. They never finished high school, but my parents were very successful. But the small sayings that my father would give me, and my father was more the business style person, and
Mm-hmm.
my mother was a housewife, and she was the one that had the heart. But my father was all business.
Yes,
And
yes,
I look back on that, and I cue up a comment that they would tell me, and it kind of stays with me. So that voice is coming back there. Are you creating that voice for your people that work for you, or when you're giving a speech, you're talking about your book? How
yes.
does it tie into the message you're leaving, creating your imprint on the dash?
Yeah. So I talk about the greatest influencers in my life at a very, very early age, which were my parents.
Okay.
And I talk about and I honor them. And I also, my father used to always say, as you talk about, quotes from your parents, my father used to always say, it doesn't matter if you pick up garbage for a living.
Yeah.
Every time you pick up a trash can, make sure that you do not drop a piece of trash on the ground.
Yeah.
So
The small things.
it has to be 100%. And so my father would always say, it doesn't matter. Now, of course, my mother would lean in and say, but we don't want you to do that. But my father's point was, whatever you do, you give it 100%. That
Yeah.
has followed me throughout my entire career.
Yeah.
You give it 100%, no matter what it is, give it 100%. And that's what I've always told my teams. And also great leaders that I've had in terms
Okay.
of being courageous.
Okay.
Being courageous, and as I mentioned earlier, don't be afraid to stand by yourself.
Okay.
And my father, being a Marine, he always talked about at a very early age, honor, integrity, doing the right thing. He would always say to me, as a Marine, he said, the motto of the Marines is, we only need a few good men.
You good
And,
man.
and so, and he said, and that's all you need to have in your life, Donna, is a few great people in your life. You don't need
Yeah.
an army of people,
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
few people that will always support you. So I share that to this day with people that I mentor, people that I coach, people that I sponsor. Integrity, Ron, honor, compassion, empathy. Ron,
Yeah.
empathy. We need
That's the key.
people that have empathy
Yeah,
for
that's the key
other
competence.
people.
Yeah, that's the key competency today. I wanted to ask you, as you speak across the globe, are any of your speeches online relating to your book? The book is on Amazon, by the way, folks. And the name of the book is Behind the Glass Door: The Unwritten Rules of Success and Fulfillment. That's on that. I've already made a note that I'm going to be purchasing that book after. So if you can go online and purchase that book, that would be great.
Thank you.
When you're speaking and you're talking through the glass door concept, is there a common theme that people are asking questions that keeps coming back up?
Yes. People don't understand the game. They didn't
Okay.
know that it was a game.
Okay. Yeah.
They thought that if I keep my head down
Okay.
and do
Yeah.
my job,
Yeah.
they will reap the rewards. It will just shower down on them.
Nope.
That is a common theme that I hear, that
Yeah.
people think keeping my head down and then the rewards will come. No.
Yeah.
So I do hear that across the globe, that people do feel that way. And I tell them no, that you can be as fabulous as you want to be, but it really will come down to you understanding those rules and how you navigate
Yeah.
through your success, understanding those rules.
Yeah.
And that will determine your success. And
Yeah.
then having your board of directors, you
Mhm.
understand those 10 rules, having your board of directors, you will see success beyond your imagination.
Mhm. So Maria Andrianova said, wonderful energy from you both. Oh, wow. I have energy
Thank
too, but I
you.
know you had energy. I'm just kind of here standing on the sidelines as we go through this. Do you have a YouTube channel that people can go to on YouTube or something like that? Or
No, I do not. I'm on YouTube right now about Leslie Hunter asked the hiring manager. There's a wonderful piece right now on YouTube that
okay.
that I have. I also have another piece where I was doing I was invited to the University of Mount St. Vincent to talk to their seniors and juniors because they're about to embark on the
Yeah.
workforce. So I
Yeah.
do have some
Journey.
pieces that are attached to my LinkedIn that are
Okay.
videos that people can see.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So as we begin to close out,
Yes.
if you could go back and give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh, giving advice to my younger self. It would be don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
all small stuff.
In the whole realm
Being
of things.
Yeah, in the realm of things. When you think about the stuff that you sweated about 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you would say to yourself, why did I waste time and energy on that? So
Yeah.
I would say, don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Do the best. Stay
Yeah.
focused on your goals.
Yeah.
Stay focused on your goals. Focus on your goals. Have a plan. Stay true to
Mhm.
your plan. If you need to pivot your plan, but stay
Yeah.
focused on your goals
Yeah.
and eliminate the naysayers
Yeah.
because you're always going to have people in your life that will say, you're looking to do that? You want to run that? You'll never be able to get there
Yeah.
because I looked at that and I didn't get that kind of role. So you
Yeah.
probably won't either. People
Yeah.
are always wanting to say what you can do or what you can't do because they weren't able to do it themselves. Let
Yeah.
it go.
Yeah.
Eliminate the naysayers. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're family. So
Mhm.
eliminate the naysayers.
We won't say that too loud,
I
but
know we won't say it too loud.
too loud. But I know exactly what you're talking about. But I'm glad that you're in front of younger people. I teach one course now at a American university here in Dubai. And
Oh,
I'm going over subject matter content, but I want to leave them with life lessons that it's okay to have a detour. It's okay to get a full stop and it causes you to rethink. It's okay. As you
absolutely.
say, don't sweat the small stuff. But
Right.
you try and step back, you've got your board, you bounce it off, you strategize, and you come back at it again.
Yeah. It's we make a big ask of our young people
Yeah.
that you have to, when you're graduating from high school, you have to know what you want to do so that you can select the right college.
Yeah.
And then when you get in college, we're going to give you a year in college to kind of figure it out, maybe two if you're lucky. And then you have to declare a major.
Mm.
Really? Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we put so much pressure on our young people to figure
Yeah.
it out. But what we have to also understand is that while those are guidelines, you may not have figured it out. But this is what I tell people: follow your passion.
Yeah.
If you follow your passion and stay true to your passion will never desert you, and you will be happier than
Mm-hmm.
anyone you can imagine. And you can be and make great money doing it.
Yeah.
So they're not mutually exclusive. I
Yeah.
followed my passion, I stayed
Yeah.
mission driven, and I
Mhm.
was able to retire early.
And my response to that is that I know doctors that are not doctoring anymore. I know lawyers that are not lawyering anymore. And why did
Yes.
they? I know a young lady that worked for me. She went to school and became an accountant. And I asked her. She said, "I don't need what." I said, "Why did you get out of accounting?" She said, I don't want to do that." I said, "So why did you get the degree?" She said, "Because my father was an accountant, his brothers was accountant, and everybody said, become an accountant, become an accountant." and you never have to worry about a job.
Yeah.
Oh, worst
Yeah.
career advice ever. And she got in there one summer or did an internship or whatever it is, but she got a CPA and she says nothing else. And she moved on to something else. So it's exactly what you said. We put pressure on them to say, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And I think a lot of that comes from saying that it's going to go this way.
Right.
And there's going to be no roadblocks. And in 5 years here, it's that ladder. You're just going to keep going up. And then all of a sudden there's a crash and you've got to do whatever you got to do.
Yeah. You know, follow your passion. That's always my advice. Follow your passion. What are you most passionate about? What are you most interested in? And start there.
Okay, cool. I think you brought something out with me today because Ashok, my dear friend here who was the global HR person, said 2 electrifying personalities, and a significant part that comes from how authentic they both are. So Ashok, thank you. Ashok is going to be a guest on the show coming up, I think, on December 6th. Very, very dear friend. One of my oldest friends here in Dubai since I've been living here. So
wonderful.
Ashok, we'll talk. And thank you so much for messaging on that. So the last question I want to ask you, one of the goals of the show is to bring leaders like yourselves in to talk about the journey with all the twists and turns and all the kinds of things, that we go through on this so-called journey. What would you give us your closing thoughts on what we've talked about? Can you sum it up as to what would you like to leave the audience with?
So I would, if I could summarize it, everything that I've talked about is that when I look at what I've been able to accomplish in my 39 years, success beyond my imagination, anything I could not have planned for my success. And so, but I always stayed very true to who I was. I always wanted only to be in very mission-driven jobs. Even when people said you should go left and I didn't want to go left, I stayed true to what my passions were. And people will respect, they'll tell you that 4 or 5 times, but people will respect after about, 4 or 5 times you keep saying, no, I'm going right. And then they'll say, okay, let's get you going right. And so I would say, just follow your passion. Stay true to who you are. Don't waffle. Have honor, integrity, empathy. It's just important. A commitment to someone other than yourself. And that's what has sustained me. That's what I have been blessed to have a career of 39 years doing. And I'm humbled by my success. I'm humbled that I was able to get my book out there, which was definitely on my bucket list. And so stay focused.
Okay, cool. You know what? The last quote that you talked about, turn left, that was my grandmother's phrase. And she said, if everybody's turning left, you turn right. So there must be some connection here with families, because you're pulling out a lot of things that causes me to go back. But her thought was always never follow the crowd.
Never.
If everyone is going in one direction, pause and you go in the other direction. She said, because the journey may be a lot more enriching on the other side as opposed to following the crowd.
Right. And don't let people tell you what you can do and what you can't do.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had an education from the home base, starting and listening to the old folks talk. You know what I mean? So all that was cool. So Donna, thank you so much for being a guest. I want you to hold on as we close out, because I need to talk to you offline. So take care. And for the people that's listening in, share. We're up to almost 15,000 people that's tuned into our show, and we're trying to grow our base. Our goal is to get to 25,000, and then we're gonna keep growing. So share, let your friends know. Every Friday morning, we have the show, esteemed people from across the globe. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you next Friday. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Take the CEO series with you anywhere, anytime. All episodes are now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and major streaming platforms. It's not just an interview. It's a masterclass in leadership.